Has there ever been something that arrived at the perfect time in your life? Whether it was a song that perfectly described the situation you're in, or a movie or show that got you into a genre or a series you never thought you'd be interested in. For me, that was Shadow of the Colossus. You see, Shadow of the Colossus was a game I heard before, but didn't really care that much about. I saw it on a few people I like top 10s lists, but besides that, could really care less about the game. Until I saw it from the Game Grumps. You see, for most playthroughs in Game Grumps, usually Aaron is the one that's playing and Dan is watching. But for certain games, he prefers Danny is the one that plays, because these games usually have special experiences, and Shadow of Colossus is no exception. Usually, Dan and Aaron's commentary is so interesting that even if the game sucked, that would be enough to carry the game. But luckily, that wasn't the case for Shadow of Colossus. From the music, to the graphics, to the gameplay, the game was just so mesmerizing and breathtaking to look at. But despite all that, the Game Grumps still managed to poke fun at the game, like this for example.
I love how pensive he is too. He's like, "Oh, what's going on out here? Oh, nice weather we're having. Oh, you look nice.
All right.
How you doing?
Show it to me. Show it to me, you big bitch.
How are ya?
Oh, he's pissed. He didn't like that.
Oh,
He didn't like that at all.
I'm gonna
Hello.
step on you. Here it comes.
Where's my fucking thing?
And I stepped on you.
I couldn't get my arrow focused.
Oh, I missed.
Shut up.
Guess I better try and step on you again.
Do it.
Better get ready for it.
Shut up, Aaron.
Oh,
Stop making this seem less amazing than it is.
here it comes.
Oh!
Okay, now
Which one is it?
just gotta position myself.
Woo! Got it.
Oh, gosh.
Okay. The foot is down.
My foot is hurting.
Shut up, Aaron.
Gee, I hope a guy doesn't. Oh, no.
Such a dick.
What is happening? Oh!
Whoa!
This is exactly what I didn't want to happen today.
Fuck, it's so awkwardly massive.
I hope
Don't look at me!
Hope he doesn't regain stamina on my mushroom shoulder. Oh, no!
It's so stupid, but I love it. So the Game Grumps would upload on a daily basis, and each episode we will see a new Colossus. Each episode just kept getting more exciting and more exciting, seeing the puzzles to beat the Colossus getting more complicated, and the Colossus becoming smarter. It was so fascinating to see Dan's reaction to finally solving the puzzle. And for me, I watched only up until the 15th Colossus because at that point, I knew I wanted to buy and play the game myself. So that's what I did. At the time, I was 16, I didn't have a job, so I just asked for it for my birthday. And luckily, I got it for my birthday. But what was very interesting was the time when the package finally arrived. You see, during this time, I was in a very interesting transitional period in my life. My parents were moving, and they're moving somewhere far. And at the time where I was still living, I had to go to summer school. Well, fortunately for me, my mom's best friend was generous enough to let me live with her during the time when I had to go to summer school. And you see, this was very interesting because I have a big family. And more specifically, 5 brothers and 2 sisters. And this was the first time in my life where I was living, well, pretty much by myself beside my mom's friend. And I was feeling a lot of mixed emotions. Excited, but unsure what I was gonna go through. And so Shadow came in a very interesting period. The story of Shadow Colossus is very simple. You're a character named Wander, and he wants to revive this dead woman named Mono. And so Wander trespasses these forbidden lands, and once he arrives at the forbidden lands, this mysterious entity named Dorman says the only way to revive her is to defeat the 16 Colossi. I think the simplicity of the story is why the story is so fascinating, because there's so much we don't know what's going on. Who's Wander? Who's Mono? Who is Mono to Wander? Is it his wife? His sister? His mother? Who is Dorman? And can we trust him? These are questions that are going to be running through your head throughout this journey. And some of them get answered, and some of them don't. I used to be the type of guy, when I watched a movie or show, I would like all my questions answered, and I hated when they left things up into interpretation, and always wanted a definitive answer for everything. But Shadow of the Colossus has changed that for me, because you can make an argument that Wander's actions are completely selfish or selfless. Either way, you technically wouldn't be wrong. You can argue that Wander's actually completely selfless because he's willing to unseal a mysterious entity's power just in hopes of reviving Mono. But of the same token, you can argue that Wander is selfish because he's really willing to risk it all just in hopes of saving Mono, but potentially putting his whole village at risk. For me, as crazy as it sounds, I can actually understand Wander's actions. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean I agree with them, but I can understand where they're coming from. As I mentioned before, I come from a big family, and that was the first time I truly felt alone. And couple that with the fact that I had to go to summer school and not knowing anyone made me feel even more alone than I've ever felt for the first time in my life. And as a result of trying to fit in, I started to be friends with people I normally wouldn't be friends with, just to combat the loneliness. And I think at some point in our lives, we all have done things that seem out of character for us, whether it was trying to fit in or out of desperation to achieve something we really wanted. And I think Wander's character is the physical representation of that. It's like the trolley problem. Would you save one loved one or save 5 random people? And in Wander's situation, instead of just killing 5, he's killing 16, which is a lot worse. The biggest thing I learned about Shadow of the Colossus is the world isn't so black and white, and there's a whole lot of gray. It's easier to think that in life there's a whole bunch of good guys and a whole bunch of bad guys, and the good guys are doing everything heroic, and the bad guys are typical mustache twirling villains. But in reality, most people in the world are just trying to do what they believe is good. There's a really good quote that my sister told me that encapsulates this idea perfectly. And it is, every villain is a good guy in his head. For me, when I befriended those people back in summer school, they like to do a lot of mischievous things, like get in trouble and terrorize teachers. And I used to not think of it necessarily as such a bad thing. I just justified it in my mind as me having fun with my friends. But now I realize how much of an asshole I was being, just having fun at the expense of other people. For me, I wonder if Wander's going through the same thing, that there's a part of him knows what he's doing is wrong, but he's justifying it as the right thing because he is saving Mono's life. I think in life, we all have been in a position where we all have done something that was morally questionable and justified it in our mind as the right thing to do. And maybe at the time, it was the right thing to do. But a good question to ask yourself if you're unsure of what you're doing is right is, what I'm doing, is it hurting more people or helping more people? This question always helped me to reach a conclusion that usually I feel the least regret of what I'm about to do. All in all, Shadow of the Colossus is a game that truly changed my life. There's not going to be much games on this channel that I say is an absolute must for you to play. But honestly, Shadow of the Colossus is a must. If there is a game bucket list of games that you must play before you die, Shadow of the Colossus is one of them. As you can see, I didn't talk about the other aspects of the game, like the gameplay, music, etc. And I did that purposefully because I want to save that when I do a deep dive review of the game. So prepare for that. But today, I just really want to focus on the impact this game made outside of my life. And honestly, I love Shadow Colossus so much. And that's why it used to be one of my favorite games of all time. Notice I said used to be. Because on March 3rd, 2017, Nintendo just casually decided to release one of the best games ever made. And now I'm conflicted.